Media on YouTube. It's your guy Sports Love broadcasting live today, December 9th, 2025, for the college football picks, my perspective, and NFL game picks, also my perspective. The regular season in college football is done, and the conference championships have been played in college football. For college football, we now move to the regular bowl games, the Army-Navy game, and the playoffs. Before digging deeper, let's go over the AP poll for this week. In the AP poll, you have number 1, number 2, Georgia, number 3, Ohio State, number 4, Texas Tech, number 5, Oregon, number 6, Ole Miss, number 7, Texas A&M, number 8, Oklahoma, number 9, Notre Dame, number 10, Miami and Florida, number 11, Alabama, number 12, BYU, number 15, USC, number 17, Tulane, number 18, Michigan, number 19, James Madison, number 20, Virginia, number 21, Arizona, number 22, Navy, number 23, North Texas, number 24, Georgia Tech, number 25, Missouri. Now, when it comes to the playoffs, 12 teams will compete for the chance to win the national championship. Seeds 1 through 4 are your 4 major conference championship winners. Seeds 5 through 12 are either at-large bids or winners of lesser conferences. Here are the teams that are in the playoffs for the 2025 college football season. And this will be seeded number 1, Indiana, number 2, Ohio State, number 3, Georgia, number 4, Texas Tech, number 5, Oregon, number 6, Ole Miss, number 7, Texas A&M, number 8, Oklahoma, number 9, Alabama, number 10, Miami and Florida, number 11, Tulane, number 12, James Madison. In the seeds 5 through 12, the games will be played as home game for higher seeded teams. Seeds 1 through 4 gets a first round bye to play winners of these games. So the home games you have are number 5, Oregon versus number 12, James Madison, number 6, Ole Miss versus number 11, Tulane, number 7, Texas A&M versus number 10, Miami and Florida, number 8, Oklahoma versus number 9, Alabama. Let's see, in round 2 or the quarterfinals, you'll have number 1, Indiana will play the winner of number 8, Oklahoma versus number 9, Alabama. Number 4, Texas Tech will play the winner of number 5, Oregon versus number 12, James Madison. Number 3, Ohio. All right, let's try this again, shall we? I'm sorry, I'm having some technical issues. Welcome to Sports Law Media on YouTube. It's your guy Sports Law broadcasting live today, December 9th, 2025. And today's live stream is going to be talking about the college football playoffs, college football picks, my perspective, and NFL picks, also my perspective. The regular season in college football is done, and the conference championships have been played in college football. For college football, we now go to the regular bowl games, the Army-Navy regular season game, and the playoffs. Before digging deeper, let's go over the AP poll for the top 25 this week. And I'm sorry I'm having to repeat myself, but I lost part of the feed. So, number 1, Indiana, number 2, Georgia, number 3, Ohio State, number 4, Texas Tech, number 5, Oregon, number 6, Ole Miss, number 7, Texas A&M, number 8, Oklahoma, number 9, Notre Dame, number 10, Miami and Florida, number 11, Alabama, number 12, BYU, number 13, Vanderbilt, number 14, Texas, number 15, Utah, 16 is USC, number 17, Tulane, 18 is Michigan, 19, James Madison, number 20, Virginia, number 21, Arizona, number 22, Navy, number 23, North Texas, number 24, Georgia Tech, and 25 is Arizona State. Now, when it comes to the playoffs, 12 teams will compete for the chance to win the national championship. Seeds 1 through 4 are your 4 major conference championship winners. Seeds 5 through 12 are either at-large bids or winners of lesser conferences. Here are the teams in the playoffs for the 2025 college football season. Number 1, Indiana. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, Georgia. Number 4, Texas Tech. Number 5, Oregon. Number 6, Ole Miss. Number 7, Texas A&M. Number 8, Oklahoma. Number 9, Alabama. Number 10, Miami. Number 11, Tulane. And number 12, James Madison. In the seeds 5 through 12, the games will be played as home game for higher seed teams. Seeds 1 through 4 get first round bye where they don't play a game, but they will play the winner of these games. So to start with, in the first round games, you have number 5, Oregon versus number 12, James Madison. Number 6, Ole Miss versus number 11, Tulane. Number 7, Texas A&M versus number 10, Miami and Florida. Number 8, Oklahoma versus number 9, Alabama. In round 2, or the quarterfinals, number 1, Indiana will play the winner of number 8, Oklahoma versus number 9, Alabama. Number 4, Texas Tech will play the winner of number 5, Oregon versus number 12, James Madison. Number 3, Ohio State would play the winner of number 7, Texas A&M versus number 10, Miami and Florida. Number 3, Georgia would play the winner of number 6, Ole Miss versus number 11, Tulane. From that, you have the winners of the quarterfinals play in semifinal. The winners of semifinals will play for the national championship. First round of the playoffs will start December 19th through 20th. Quarterfinals will be December 31st, 2025 and January 1st of 2026. Semifinals will take place January 8th and 9th of 2026. Your national championship game will be January 19th, 2026. All games starting in quarterfinals will be part of 9 bowl games. For purposes of this live stream, quarterfinals to championship games and playoffs will be played at neutral sites. First round games, again, will be home games for the higher seeded team. We will look at the fun part on analysis based on Vegas for the margin of victory or the total amount the winning team is expected to win by. We will also look at the over-under, which the total combined points should be based upon what the pros in Vegas believe will be scored in the game in question by the two teams. Another note regarding playoffs, quarterfinal games attached to specific bowl games will be the Cotton Bowl, Orange Bowl, Rose Bowl, and Sugar Bowl. The semifinals that are also associated with bowl games are the Verbo Fiesta Bowl, the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. The national championship game will be presented by AT&T. It will be played at the Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida. Now that we have some basic information over, in terms of analysis, we will start with the Army-Navy game, then do all the bowl games, non-playoff related. Then we'll look at the preview of the first round games. I will look at the Vegas thing mentioned earlier. If I agree or disagree, I will not be doing as deep of analysis as normal. But what I'll do is, as I go with it, I'll just tell you my thoughts, who I think is going to win, whether I agree or disagree, and what I think of the over-under on it. After we do all of this for the regular Division I football, we will then go over who is playing in NCAA Division I FCS playoffs, as well as Division II and Division III, and I'll make picks on who I think will win those games. Once we get through all the college stuff, we will move into the NFL side of things. I will go over who is playing in the NFL games and any pertinent information. I will then go over what the pros say the margin of victory will be, plus the over-under, and I will make my picks and go over whether I think it will be over or under. I know we have a lot to talk about today, so let's get into this. So, what I'm going to do is I'll just go over I'm going to go over the bowl games. In regard to the playoffs and stuff, we will deal with the first round playoff games. I'll have a separate video that will come out within a week, basically highlighting what's happened so far in the playoffs and the bowl games. And we'll just go from that. I'm not going to redo the stream on bowl game picks, but what we'll do is I'll go over like the result and stuff, and then as each round of the playoffs progress, and that'll be added to that video. There will be a special video for the national championship game, but we'll get that when we get to that point in the college football world. So, all right, let's get into the bowl games. We have the Cricket Celebration Bowl, and that game is Saturday, December 13th. You have South Carolina State versus Prairie View A&M. In this game, South Carolina State is favored to win the game by 4.5 or 5 points, and the over-under is 55.5 or 56. I'm going to agree with the pros on this one. I think South Carolina State wins the game by 5, and I'm going to go over the 56. Next, you have the Bucked Up LA Bowl, and that game is Boise State versus Washington. In this game, the pros think Washington will win the game by 8.5 or 9 points. The over-under is 51.5 or 52. In this game, I agree with the pros. I think Washington will defeat Boise State by 9, and I'm going to go over the 52. Next, you have on December 16th, you have the IS4S.
Hello, Moto.
I apologize about that. You have the IS4S Salute to Veterans Bowl, which will be Troy versus Jacksonville State. In this game, Troy is favored to win the game by 3 points. The over-under is 51.5 or 52. I'm going to completely disagree with the pros on this one, and I'm going to go Jacksonville State will win that game by 2 over Troy, and I'm going over the 52. On December 17th, you have the Staff DNA Cure Bowl, which will be Old Dominion versus South Florida. In that game, you have South Florida favored to win that game by 7.5 or 8 points. The over-under is 56.5 or 57, and I'm going to go over on that one. I agree with the pros on that one. I do have South Florida winning that one by 8, and again, I'm going over. Now, you have the Army-Navy regular season game, and that game is December 13th, 2025. In that game, the pros favor Navy to defeat Army by 4.5 or 5 points over Army, and I do agree with that. I think Navy is the better team. The over-under is 38.5 or 39, and I'm going to go over. All right, next game we're going to look at is the 68 Ventures Bowl, which will have Louisiana versus Delaware. In that game, Louisiana is favored to win over Delaware by 3.5 or 4 points, which I do agree with. The over-under is 58.5 or 59, and I believe it will be under. Next, you have a new bowl. They did replace what they had was called the Bahamas Bowl. Well, now it's called the Xbox Bowl, and it's in a different location. So you have Arkansas State versus Missouri State. And in that game, the pros favor Arkansas State to win over Missouri State by 3. And the over-under is 56.5 or 57. And I'm going over. I'm going over on that one. Next, you have the Myrtle Beach Bowl, which will be presented by Engine. Engine must be a company. So, anyway, that game is Kennesaw State versus Western Michigan. And in that game, the pros have Western Michigan favored to beat Kennesaw State by 4 points. I'm going to disagree with that. I think Kennesaw State is a better team. They'll win over Western Michigan by 2 points. The over-under in that game is 47.5 or 48, and I'm going to go over on the over-under. Next, on December 19th, is the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl, which will be Memphis versus NC State. In this game, the pros favor NC State to defeat Memphis by 5.5 or 6 points, and I'm going to agree with that. I think NC State is the better team. The over-under is 58.5 or 59, and I'm going to go under. Next, you have in the bowl game, you have Washington State versus Utah State. The pros think it's even, so either side can win this game by 1.5 or 2 points, meaning that there's no call on the margin. So I'm going to pick Utah State to defeat Washington State just to make my own pick since they don't have any information on that. The over-under is 55.5 or 56, and I'm going to go over the 56. On December 23rd, you have the Bush's Boca Raton Bowl, which will be Toledo versus Louisville. In that game, they have Louisville favored to win over Toledo by 9.5 or 10 points, which I agree with. I think Louisville's a better team than Toledo on any given day, even when Louisville's struggling. The over-under is 46.5 or 47. I'm going to go over on that one. Next, you have the New Orleans Bowl, which will be Western Kentucky versus Southern Miss. In that game, you have Western Kentucky favored to win over Southern Miss by 3 points, and I do agree with that. I think it's pretty spot on. The over-under is 55.5 or 56, and I'm going to go under that. Next, you have Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl, which will be UNLV versus the University of Ohio. In that game, UNLV is favored to defeat the University of Ohio by 4.5 or 5 points, and I do agree with that. I think that's a good call. The over-under is 62.5 or 63, and I'm going to go under. Next, you have California versus Hawaii in the Sheraton Hawaii Bowl. In that game, California is favored to defeat Hawaii by 1.5 or 2 over Hawaii, and I do agree with that. The over-under is 54.5 or 55. I think it'll be over on that one, and I do agree with the pros on California beating Hawaii. Next game is on December 6th. You have Central Michigan versus Northwestern. In this game, Northwestern, by the pros, is favored to win by 12.5 or 13. Or actually, 12.5 to 4 or 13, upwards to 13.5 or 14. They didn't really have a clear-cut view on that one. So there's no agreement, so I'm going to go with what's available. I do think that Northwestern beats Central Michigan by 14 points, and the over-under is 43.5 or 44, and I'm going to go over that. Next, you have the Rate Bowl, which will be New Mexico versus Minnesota. The pros favor Minnesota to defeat New Mexico by 3 points. I agree with that. I think that's reasonable. The over-under is 48.5 or 49, and I'm going to go over that. Next, you have the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl, which will be Florida International versus UTSA. In that game, the pros favor UTSA to win by 9.5 or 10 points, and I do agree with that. I think UTSA is a better team. There's no information on the over-under, so we won't get into that. Next game is on December 27th. You have the Go Bowling Military Bowl, which will be Pittsburgh versus East Carolina. There's no odds available on that game, to make a pick, so I'm going to pick Pittsburgh to win that game over East Carolina. Next, you have the Bad Boy Mowers Pinstripe Bowl, which will be Clemson versus Penn State. You have Clemson favored to win by the pros by 2.5 or 3 points over Penn State. I'm going to completely disagree with that. I think Penn State is better than Clemson, even when they've had a bad year, and I think Penn State wins that game by 2 points. The over-under is 48.5 or 49, and I'm going to go over the 49. Excuse me. Next game you have is UConn versus Army. You have, in that game, the pros favored UConn to defeat Army by 3.5 or 4 points. I agree with that. I think that's a good call. The over-under is 48.5 or 49, and I'm going over on that. Next, you have the Pop-Tarts Bowl, which is going to be Georgia Tech versus BYU. In that game, BYU is favored to win that game by 3.5 or 4 points, which I agree with. I think BYU is a better team than Georgia Tech. The over-under is 55.5 or 56, and I'm going to go under the 56. Next, you have the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl, which is going to be Miami and Ohio versus Fresno State. In that game, the pros favor Fresno State to win over Miami and Ohio by 3.5 or 4 points. And I do agree Fresno State will win that game, but I don't think it'll be by 4. I think it'll be by 2 points. So my prediction is Fresno State wins over Miami and Ohio by 2 points. The over-under is 46.5 or 47, and I'm going over the 47. Next, you have the Isleta, New Mexico Bowl, which will be North Texas versus San Diego State. In that game, North Texas is favored to win over San Diego State by 6.5 or 7 points, and I do agree with that. I think that's a reasonable call. The over-under is 56.5 or 57, and I'm going to go over the 57. Next, you have the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl, which is Missouri versus Virginia. In that game, the pros favor Missouri to win that game by 8 over Virginia. I'm going to completely disagree with that. I think Virginia actually is better than Missouri. Yes, Missouri's had a good and stellar year compared to their normal type of year, but Virginia seems to me to be the better team between Virginia and Missouri. So in my disagreeing, I'm going to have Virginia winning over Missouri by 3. The over-under is 50.5 or 51, and I'm going to go over the 51. Next, you have the Kinder's Texas Bowl, which is LSU versus Houston. In that game, they have Houston favored to win over LSU by 3 points, which I do agree with. I think Houston is the better team between them and LSU, and normally it would be the other way around, but not this year. I agree with that. So the over-under is 43.5 or 44, and I'm going to go over the 44. Next, you have the J-Lab Birmingham Bowl, which will be Georgia Southern versus Appalachian State. In this game, Appalachian State is favored to defeat Georgia Southern by 6.5 or 7 points, and I do agree with that. The over-under is 62.5 or 63, and I'm going to go over the 63. I believe both teams will score a lot of points. Next, on December 30th, you have the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl, and that's going to be Coastal Carolina versus Louisiana Tech. In that game, the pros favor Louisiana Tech to defeat Coastal Carolina by 7. I disagree completely with that, and I think it's going to be Coastal Carolina beating Louisiana Tech by 3, not the other way around. The over-under is 51.5 or 52, and I'm going to go under the 52. Next, you have the Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl, which will be Tennessee versus Illinois. In that game, the pros favor Tennessee to defeat Illinois by 6.5 or 7 points, and I do agree with that. The over-under is 61.5 or 62. I'm going over the 62. Next, you have the Valero Alamo Bowl, which is Southern California versus TCU. In that game, USC is favored to defeat TCU by 6.5 or 7 points, and I do agree with that. I think it will be USC beating TCU. The over-under is 58.5 or 59, and I originally went one way, but I've changed it. Here are my thoughts. I think it will be over the 59. Next, on New Year's Eve, this is regular bowl game. This is not playoffs, but you'll have Iowa versus Vanderbilt. In this game, the pros favor Vanderbilt to defeat Iowa by 4 points, which I do agree with. The over-under is 49.5 or 50, and I'm going over the 50. Next, you have Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, which will be Arizona State versus Duke. Duke is favored to win. Duke is favored to win the game by a very close margin, 1.5 to 2 points, and I agree with that. I think Duke is better than Arizona State, believe it or not. You have the over-under is 49.5 or 50, and I'm going to go over the 50. Next, you have the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, which will be Texas versus Michigan. Texas is favored to win that game by 4.5 or 5 points over Michigan, and I'm going to completely disagree with the pros on that one. I think Texas is having some struggles, especially with their quarterback, and because of that, I believe Michigan will defeat Texas by 2. The over-under is 46.5 or 47, and I'm going to go over the 47. Next, you have the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl, which will be Nebraska versus Utah. In this game, the pros favor Utah to defeat Nebraska 13.5 or 14 points, whereas I do agree Utah wins the game, but I do not think it'll be by 14 points. I think it'll be more like 9 points, so that's what I'm going to go with. The over-under is 50.5 or 51, and I'm going over the 51. On January 2nd, of 2026, you have Rice versus Texas State. In this game, you have Texas State favored to defeat Rice by 10.5 or 11 points. And I do agree that Rice will defeat Texas State, but I do not think it's going to be by 11 points. My closer reality is that Texas State beats Rice by 7 points, so that's what I'll go with. The over-under is 59.5 or 60, and I'm going to go over the 60. All right, next is the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, and that will be Navy versus Cincinnati. In that game, the pros have Cincinnati to defeat Navy by 3.5 or 4 points, and I do agree with that. I think that's actually really a good call. The over-under is 57.5 or 58, and I'm going over the 58. Next, you will have the Duke's Mayo Bowl, which will be Wake Forest versus Mississippi State. And in that game, Mississippi State is favored to defeat Wake Forest by 3.5 or 4 points. And in that rare occasion on that, I'm going to disagree with the pros. I think Wake Forest will defeat Mississippi State by 3, and that might be against my better judgment, but I'm going to stick with that. The over-under is 57.5 or 58, and I'm going over the 58. All right, the last of the regular bowl games, we have Arizona versus SMU. In that game, Arizona and SMU are even. They could not come up with a margin on either side of things, and it's literally a coin toss, and they do not know who is going to win. So I'm going to make a pick. It says either one equally likely to win, so no help on the margin of victory. So I'm going to pick Arizona to defeat SMU. The over-under is 52.5 or 53, and I'm going to go over on that one. All right, now we've gone over all of the regular bowl games. Now let's go over the first round playoff games. All right, in the first round of the playoff games, which will be at the home sites, you have Oklahoma versus Alabama, and Alabama is favored by pros to defeat Oklahoma by 2.5 or 3 points. The over-under is 40.5 or 41, and in that game, I'm going to disagree with the pros in Alabama beating Oklahoma. I actually think it'll be Oklahoma defeats Alabama by 3. The over-under is 40.5 or 41, and I'm going over the 41. Next, and that game is on December 19th. The next game that we'll look at is going to be number 10 Miami versus number 7 Texas A&M. In that game, Texas A&M is favored to defeat Miami in Florida by 3.5 or 4 points. I do agree with that. I think Texas A&M is a better team than Florida. So I will agree with them winning by 4 points. The over-under is 51.5 or 52, and I'm going over the 52. Next, you have number 6 Ole Miss versus number 11 Tulane. In this game, the pros favor Ole Miss to defeat Tulane by 16.5 or 17 points, and the over-under is 56.5 or 57. I think Tulane is a better team than most people give credit for. However, Ole Miss is also really good this year. And because of that, I do think Ole Miss will win the game, but I do not think it'll be by 17 points. I more or less favor it by 9 points. So Ole Miss will defeat Tulane by 9. In terms of the over-under, I'm going to go over the 57. All right, the last of the first-round playoff games we have will be number 12, James Madison versus number 5, Oregon, and that game will be played in Oregon. In that game, Oregon is favored to defeat James Madison by 21.5 or 22 points. And in that situation, Oregon is a far superior team than James Madison. We could be very much surprised, but I honestly think it's going to go in favor of Oregon, and I'm going to agree with the pros with Oregon winning by 22 points. The over-under is 50.5 or 51, and I'm going to go over the 51. So, real quick before I move on, let's go back over the AP poll for the top 25 this week, and then I'll mention the top 12 teams in the playoffs. For the AP poll, number 1, Indiana, number 2, Georgia, number 3, Ohio State, number 4, Texas Tech, number 5, Oregon, number 6 Ole Miss, number 7 Texas A&M, number 8 Oklahoma, number 9 Notre Dame, number 10 Miami and Florida, number 11 Alabama, number 12 BYU, number 13 Vanderbilt, number 14 Texas, number 15 Utah, number 16 USC, number 17 Tulane, number 18 Michigan, number 19 James Madison, number 20 North Texas, number 24 Georgia Tech, and number 25 would be Missouri. Now, when it comes to the playoffs, again, your top 12 teams are number 1 Indiana, number 2 Ohio State, number 3 Georgia, number 4 Texas Tech, number 5 Oregon, number 6 Ole Miss, number 7 Texas A&M, number 8 Oklahoma, number 9 Alabama, number 10 Miami, number 11 Tulane, and number 12 James Madison. All right, now let's move to the NCAA Division I FCS playoffs. In this part, I'm just going to go over who is playing and pertinent information, and then I'm going to make my pick for who I think is going to win. And you can see who I've picked by my lines here, but you have Stephen F. Austin versus Montana State. I believe Montana State will beat Stephen F. Austin. That game is Anyway, and then that's on December 12th. On December 13th, you have Villanova versus Tarleton State. I have Villanova winning over Tarleton State. You have South Dakota playing Montana, and I have South Dakota defeating Montana. You have Illinois State defeating UC Davis, and that's in the Division I FCS. Now, let's look at who's in the playoffs for NCAA Division II and III. And again, I'm just going to go over who's playing and who I think is going to win in those games. You have Newberry versus Ferris State. I have Ferris State defeating Newberry. You have Harding University playing Kutztown. I have Kutztown defeating Harding University. You have Berry College versus John Carroll, and I have Berry College defeating John Carroll. You have Wisconsin River Falls versus Wheaton. I have Wheaton defeating Wisconsin River Falls. You have Bethel versus North Central College. I have North Central College defeating Bethel. You have Susquehanna versus Johns Hopkins University. I have Susquehanna winning that game. All right. Now we're going to move into the NFL side of things. In this, I will go over who is playing. I'll go over any pertinent information that I have, and I will go over what the pros think will be the wins, and whether I agree or disagree. There won't be any detailed analysis, and then I'll go my thoughts on the over-under. So on Thursday, December 11th, 2025, there is Atlanta versus Tampa Bay. The pros favor Tampa Bay to win over Atlanta by 5.5 or 6 points. The over-under is 44.5 or 45. That game is Thursday at 7:15 p.m. Let's see. You have Cleveland versus Chicago, noon kickoff. In that game, you have Chicago favored to defeat Cleveland by 7. The over-under is 40.5 or 41. You have Baltimore versus Cincinnati. That's a noon kickoff on December 14th. Baltimore is favored by the pros to win by 3 over Cincinnati, and the over-under is 51.5 or 52. Next, you have the Los Angeles Chargers, I believe, versus Kansas City. That's a noon kickoff. In that game, Kansas City is favored to win by 4.5 or 5 points, and the over-under is 44.5 or 45. Then you have Buffalo versus New England. That's also a noon kickoff. In that game, the pros favor Buffalo to defeat New England by 1.5 or 2 points. The over-under is 48.5 or 49. You have Washington versus the New York Giants, noon kickoff. Washington is favored to win that game by the pros by 1.5 or 2 points. The over-under is 47.5. You have Las Vegas versus Philadelphia, noon kickoff. The pros favor Philadelphia to win that game by 12.5 or 13 points. The over-under is 40.5 or 41. You have the New York Jets versus Jacksonville, noon kickoff. And in that game, Jacksonville is favored to defeat New York Jets by 9.5 or 10 points. The over-under is 43.5. You have Arizona versus Houston, which is a noon kickoff. Yeah, you have Houston favored to win that game by 6.5 or 7 points. The over under is 42.5. For a 3:25 p.m. kickoff, you have Green Bay versus Denver. In that game, the pros favor Green Bay to win by 1.5 or 2, and the over under is 42.5. Um, Yeah. So in those games, I mean, there are a few other games, but before we go on to any of the other games, let me make my picks for the games real quick. In the Atlanta versus Tampa Bay game, I agree with the pros on that one. I believe Tampa Bay beats Atlanta by 6, and I'm going to go over the 45. In Cleveland versus Chicago, I agree with the pros on Chicago defeating Cleveland by 7. I'm going over the 41. Baltimore versus Cincinnati. I think Baltimore wins the game, but I don't think it'll be by 3. I do think it'll be by 2 points, and I'm going under the 52. Los Angeles Chargers versus Kansas City. I have Kansas City winning that game, and I do agree with that, but I don't think it's going to be by the 5 points. I think it's going to be by 3. I'm going over the 44.5, or 45 rather. In the Buffalo New England game, I agree with the pros. Buffalo defeats New England by 2. I'm going under the 49. You have Washington versus the New York Giants. In that game, the pros had Washington winning by 2. I agree with that, and I'm going under the 48. Las Vegas versus Philadelphia. I do agree Philadelphia wins the game, but I don't think it's going to be by 13 points. I think it's going to be more by 6, and I'm going over the 41. The New York Jets versus Jacksonville. I disagree completely with the pros on that one, and I have the New York Jets winning by 3 over Jacksonville, and I'm going over the 44. Normally, I don't completely disagree like that, but that case I will. Let's see. We have Arizona versus Houston, and in that game, I agree with Houston winning the game over Arizona, but I do not think it will be by 7 points. I believe it will be by 3 points, and I'm going over the 43. In the Green Bay Denver game, I agree with the pros. Green Bay wins the game by 2 points, and I am going to go over the 43. All right, next you have Detroit versus the Los Angeles Rams. And in that game, the Los Angeles Rams are favored by the pros to win by 4.5 or 5 points. The over-under is 50.5 or 51. You have Carolina versus New Orleans. That's both of those games are 3:25 kickoff time. You have Carolina favored to defeat New Orleans by 2.5 or 3 points. The over/under is 39.5 or 40. Let's see. You have Tennessee versus San Francisco, which is a 3:25 p.m. kickoff. And in that game, San Francisco is favored to defeat Tennessee by 12.5 or 13 points. The over-under is 44.5. 3:25 kickoff, Indianapolis versus Seattle. In that game, the pros favor Seattle to win by 3.5 or 4 points. The over-under is 46.5 or 47. You have Minnesota versus Dallas. And in that game, they favor Dallas to win by 7.5 or 8 points. The over-under is 47.5 or 48. So, in the Carolina New Orleans game, I completely disagree with Carolina winning that one. I think New Orleans will win that game by 2, and I'm going over the 40. I'm going to disagree with Los Angeles Rams defeating Detroit. I think Detroit wins by 2 over the Los Angeles Rams, and I'm going to go over the 51. In the San Francisco-Tennessee game, I believe San Francisco wins the game, but not by the 13 points. I'm in favor of a 9-point win, and I'm going over the 44. Over the 45 rather. In the Indianapolis-Seattle game, I agree with the pros on that one. Seattle wins the game by 4, and I'm going over the 47. You have Minnesota versus Dallas, and in that game, Dallas is favored to win by 8. I agree with the pros and Dallas winning the game, but I think it's only going to be by 4 points, and I'm going over the 48. Last NFL game we have is Miami versus Pittsburgh. That's on Monday, December 15th, 7:15 p.m. kickoff. In that game, the pros favored Pittsburgh to defeat Miami by 3. I actually agree with that. You have the over-under at 43.5, and I'm going over on that one. So there are my college football picks for the bowl games, the first-round playoff games, the Army-Navy game, my picks for NCAA Division I FCS, NCAA Division II and III, and the NFL. So I thank you very much for tuning in today to this broadcast. I do greatly appreciate it very much. Going forward, each week, up until now that we've gone over all of the bowl games, each week we'll probably just do a summary of how the bowl games have gone in Division One. In the other games, we'll just mention what the scores were and who's playing in the next round. And we'll continue to do the NFL regular season games because that's continuing for a while. In regard to the national championship for college football, there will be a special live stream for that, but we will get to that when it gets announced. So the format's going to be a little bit different each and every week going forward for college football season for right now. But we will have a weekly live stream regarding it, but it may be just a different format than what you're used to. Also, if you're tuning in, thank you for tuning in today. We will have another live stream tomorrow. It's called Hoops and Pucks, and Wednesdays, oh my. Tomorrow will be season 1, episode 6. And in that live stream, we will discuss men and women's college basketball, NBA G League basketball, regular NBA basketball, and NHL hockey. We will also have additional live streams where we can and when appropriate. I will announce those as soon as I know when they're available. In regard to tomorrow's live stream, I'm not sure what time it will be. It'll probably be in the morning, but I do not know what time yet. But I will let you know as soon as I know. If there's any questions or comments, well, if not, I do thank you for joining me for this broadcast today. It is greatly appreciated. If you will, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, and please hit the notification bell so you can be made aware of when I'm doing these live streams, when I have sports action videos, when I have sports education videos, when I have breaking news, or when I broadcast live. Also, you can subscribe to my channel if you will. Please do so. You can do it by going to www.youtube.com, the /symbol, the @symbol, SPORTSLOV, or you can go on the YouTube search tab and type in Sportslov Media as 2 words, SPORTSLOV, Media, MEDIA. You'll know it's me because I have Sportslov Media burned into a basketball as my avatar. I'm also on Twitter X, and my handle there is @BobAmin16. That is the @symbol, BOBAMIN 16. I do apologize for the early part of the technical difficulties, so some of the information may seem like it's being repeated, and I do apologize for that. I'll try to work to get that better for the next live stream. So, again, thank you very much for tuning in today. Sportslov Media signing out. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining.